Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time it is. I hope you're having a great one. All right, so now I'm watching. I've been teaching sixth graders for 2 years now, and most of you watching this might have or probably don't have a very good knowledge of fractions, and everybody hates them, but I don't really understand why because they're everywhere, one way or another. I mean, decimals or fractions are all the same thing. So, this video is just a brief introduction. It'll probably, I don't know how long it's going to be. It won't be that brief, but it's just an introduction explaining what a fraction is. I'll give you a couple examples, then a couple of diagram examples, and then I'm going to let you pause it and try to write the whole and then the whole number in fraction form and then the actual fraction. So let's get started on our description, and this will lead us into the rest of our fractions, chapters, lessons for the rest of your life. If you don't know what fractions are, you'll be using them forever in one way or another. So is what is it? Well, it's a part of a whole. It's two numbers that are on top of each other. Why are they on top of each other? It's because there's a numerator and a denominator, which I'm about to explain. But I just thought I learned fractions by working with my dad. If it wouldn't have been for him, I probably never would have really had a good understanding. And the way I learned them was with a tape measure. And so we'll use a little bit of that later on. But I tell you, if you can figure out how to read a tape measure and how the fractions line up there, then you can figure it all out. It's pretty explanatory there. I guess that's what Common Core really, I guess, would be about, would be real world learning. And in my class, we will use a tape measure quite a bit. But if you're not in my class, then I would encourage you to get out and try to use one if you don't know them very well. That's the fastest way I know to just learn them. So I bet you're asking yourself now, what is a numerator? Well, there's a pretty simple explanation. A numerator is the number of parts you have. For example, if you had 3 pieces of pizza, the 3 would be a numerator. Wait, all right. So I typed this out earlier, and that doesn't make much sense. So let's clear this out. Let's start over, and you hold on to those 3 pieces of pizza. We'll need them in just a minute. Okay, let's revamp and start with the denominator. This one is easy. It's the number that you need to make a whole. You still have that pizza, right? So let's say a whole pizza has 8 pieces. The 8 would be your denominator. Now you still have those 3 because I was hungry and I ate 5. So your 3 is the numerator and the 8 is the denominator. So the fraction that you have of that pizza is 3/8, meaning you have 3 pieces of pizza, but it takes 8 pieces of pizza to make a whole. All right, let's look at it another way. If it takes 4 quarters to make $1, so 4 quarters is $1, that's a whole. It would be 4/4. If you had 2 quarters, you would have 50 cents, or 2/4, which is equal to 1/2. And we'll get to simplifying fractions later and writing equivalent fractions, which is 2/4 equals 1/2. So just hold on to that knowledge, but know that if you have 2 quarters, then you have 2/4. Dimes, it takes 10 times to make $1. If you have 3 dimes, then you would have 3 out of 10, or 30 cents, which is where the decimal comes in, 0.3 or 0.30, 3/10. That's another part will come in, is converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So all these fractions continue on forever, and each one just builds another step. So I just wanted to make this one for my class as a brief introduction that they could always go back to on what the actual fraction is and why it's written the way it is and what the numerator is and what the denominator is. So that, again, back up real quick. The numerator is the number of parts that it takes to make a whole, or sorry, the number of parts you have. See, I just said that backwards, so I just confused everybody. The numerator is the number of parts you have, and the denominator is the number of parts that it takes to make a whole. All right, so let's break this down and do something. So let's take our pizza here. This is going back to that fraction that we just had. This pizza on top is a whole pizza, and it has 8 pieces. So let's see, it takes 8 pieces to make a whole, and we have 8 pieces. So that's a simple 8 over 8. All right, that also equals 1, or 1 whole, which again we'll get into simplifying fractions, right, equivalent fractions later, but just know that 8 over 8 is your whole. Now this represents the bottom here is the 3 pieces of pizza that you had. So if you have 3, then it goes on top, and if you need 8 to make a whole, then it is 3 over 8. All right, let's try one more. All right, here, the example on top is going to be the whole. Here we have 6 blocks, or 6 boxes, however you want to say it, whatever it is. They could be base 10 blocks if you wanted to, but I guess this would be base 6 blocks because we have 6 to make a whole. So if I'm going to say it takes 6 to make a whole, then 6 is going to be my denominator. And if I look here, I have 6. So 6 will also be my numerator, and 6 over 6 equals 1 whole. Now, down below is where I'm going to write another fraction. I know because I just set it up to where it takes 6 to make a whole. So my 6 is going to be my denominator. And if I count these, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have 5 out of the 6 that it takes to make a whole. All right, so I'm going to flip over. The top one is your whole. So I want you to write a fraction for how many are there and how many it takes to make a whole. And the bottom one is going to be your fraction. So there's 2 examples here. This one is your whole. The triangle below is your part. And on this one is your whole. And the box is your part. And go ahead and write the fractions for me. Pause this, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Alright, so you've paused the video and you've done the work. I've showed your work. If you didn't show your work, well, you wouldn't have to on this one, I guess. I've made too many other videos. Alright, so the top fraction here, we count, or the top, the whole, we count 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. So if it takes 4 to make a whole, the 4 is your denominator. Now we also have 4. So that one is 4 over 4 equals 1. Alright, the bottom triangle here, we just have 1. Well, we know it takes 4 to make a whole, and we have 1, so our fraction is going to be 1 over 4. Okay, the bottom one down here, let's see, the first one we have 1, 2, 3. We have a whole, so your numerator is going to be 3 because that's what we have, and the denominator is also going to be 3 because that's what it takes to make a whole. Now, on the one below that, the 1 box, we have 1, and we know that it takes 3 to make a whole, so our denominator is 3. You probably won't see much like this. This is just an introduction. So if you know, you maybe, hopefully you're all past this, but I guess this would be maybe 3rd grade, 4th grade when you're first introduced to fractions. And again, this is just a brief introduction. And good luck with it. We'll continue on, and there will be a whole lot more in my class and my videos on fractions. So if you didn't catch something, go ahead, rewind it now, flip back to it, pause it, and then we'll talk about it more. And like I said, there's going to be a lot more to do with fractions. This is just one of the very, very basic introduction. Have a good evening.